This was the live stream that almost didn't happen. Let's see here. We're everywhere. Do this. Okay, I think we're here. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much today for joining me. And I do apologize for the slow start to this live stream. So, today we're here to talk about how long it takes to heal after heartbreak. And this was scheduled to start at noon Mountain. And unfortunately, we had this crazy power outage. Everything went off, the computer, the internet, the lights. And I was like, could I do this from my phone? And wasted some time trying to figure that out. But anyway, the lights are back on. Here we are. And I'm so happy to talk with you today about your heartbreak recovery journey. If this is going on for you, I would love to hear about it so that I can help you. If this is your first time attending one of my live streams, welcome. I am so glad you're here. I'm Dr. Lisa Marie Bobby. I'm the host of Love, Happiness, and Success. And and every week I like to do a live stream on the same topic as my podcast so that I can be responsive to you, answer your questions, and hopefully give you some helpful advice that will support your growth and healing. So, today we're here to talk about how long it takes to heal after heartbreak. If this is going on in your life right now, I want to know about it. So, tell me if you have any questions or what may be going on with you. And unfortunately, just to manage everybody's expectations, I usually do go through a more of a preparation podcast or a preparation for these live streams where I'm hoping to be responsive and because I often do get questions in advance for these, but I don't know if I was able to do that today because of the weird power outage that we had. So let's see here. Okay, sorry, I'm a little bit discombobulated. All right, so tell me, why did you tune into this today? The topic is, how long does it take to get over your ex? And so what I want to know is, where are you currently in this healing journey? Can you tell me a little bit about that? I'll wait for your responses because I know that there's a little bit of a lag, especially with my friends over here on Instagram. Who is in the process of getting past a breakup? Either it's a recent thing or maybe it's been a little bit longer term. Maybe you've been going through this for a while and are still navigating that healing journey. And perhaps you tuned in today to get some thoughts or advice or recommendations on how to navigate through this process. Anyone? No? And I'd also be interested to hear who caught this past week's podcast. I had the best time talking with Kendra Allen. She's the host of Breakup Bestie. I don't know if you've caught her podcast before, but she's a breakup coach, and so she does draw a lot from her own personal experience, but in just the most wonderful way. I think she's very relatable. She really understands the experience from the inside out, and she shared a lot of really helpful recommendations in our conversation that we recorded on the topic of how long it really takes to get past a breakup. And we also talked about not just the timeline, but really some of the stages of healing and the different things that you can do to help yourself move forward effectively so that you don't get stuck in the process, because unfortunately people do get really stuck as they're healing after heartbreak. You've probably heard me talk about on past podcasts and different even live streams about the fact that healing after heartbreak, it happens in stages. There are like steps to this process, and particularly if you don't know how to do that, or if you're not quite sure where you are in that process, it's not uncommon at all for people to get stuck, sometimes for a long time. So anyway, for those of you who are here with me, even though we're starting a full 20 minutes late, I'd love to hear a little bit more about what's going on with you, and if there are any questions that you have about your own heartbreak recovery journey, or anything else that I can answer for you today while we're here together. And I'll wait. Anyone? Let's see. Does anybody have any questions? And I know that today was so weird. We started super late. Oh, let's see. Hold on. I have over here. Okay, excellent. Cynthia, thank you so much for sharing. Let's see if I can pull some of this up. Cynthia shared that, here, let's just pull this up because I think that this is so relatable. So thank you for being here today, Cynthia. And you mentioned that you still think about him at some point every day, and it's been a year. Yeah, this is what happens. You know, it's very easy to get it can take a long time. And, you know, part of the message of this week's podcast is that when you understand like at what point in this healing journey you're in and how to move forward, it can go forward more quickly. But Cynthia, I don't know if you've caught any of the recent podcasts or live streams I've done on this topic, but I don't know, like, and if you're familiar with like what I teach about like the stages of healing after heartbreak, where would you say you are in that journey? With the first stage being that like super intense withdrawal phase, the next phase being relationship clarity, where you're trying to sort through whether or not there could potentially be a future. If that is not possible, that turns into some, you know, first order closure. People move into a grieving process, but only after that can people really begin to process other big emotions that might be related to their breakup, and certainly start that process of growth and learning. That actually comes much later in the experience. And then once people have really, you know, done that work of what did I learn from this experience about relationships, but really about myself, like who am I, what do I want, how do I have healthier relationships going forward, then we can move into the part where you are actually able to start letting things go in a different way because you have done all of the previous steps, and you can't really do that, the letting it go part, unless you have done the previous steps. And then it's honestly, in my experience, only after that that people can really move into that next phase, which is that what's next for me, you know, that like life design, who am I as a single person, and, you know, what do I want for myself in the future, which can feel really fun and exciting. So, Cynthia, where would you say you are currently in that process? Because in order for me to give you hopefully helpful perspective, it's helpful for me to know. And I know we have a delay, so I'll wait. Oh, and while we're here, somebody else asked for the anonymous link to send your questions to me. And absolutely, let me give that to you just in case you guys have something going on, you know, obviously that feels personal that you might not necessarily want to have like sitting in the comment section of a live stream. Completely understandable. I just sent you that link. It's growingself.com/dear-Lisa. You can send me those questions in advance and I'll get them. Let me make sure that I have this pulled up so I can see anything that comes in the moment. Okay, good deal. So let's see. I don't think we have any follow-ups from Cynthia yet, but that is okay. And I hope that just me kind of going through the stages of healing was helpful for you. So here's another comment from our friend Lindsay. Lindsay shares, I'm currently about 6 months out from my breakup with my ex of 4.5 years. And I was handling it better, but now she's feeling better, and I feel like I'm backsliding a little bit. That's interesting. And if you'd like to share any more about that, I'd be happy to listen, or if there's like a specific question in there. Oh, sorry, here's Cynthia again. But just to finish this thought, thank you very much for sharing and for reminding all of us that it's really not a linear process, and that our experience of heartbreak recoveries, relationships are still systems. And sometimes if our ex is in a different place, perhaps maybe they were previously in a position where they were like, wanting to get back together, and you were like, no, it's over, and now they're like, okay, bye, and like moving into a new relationship, you're like, wait, are you sure? And so like there's still a dynamic there. Like there can be some security in being wanted, right? And when that goes away, it can trigger things for us. So anyway, if you have anything else to share or a question related to that, I would be very, very happy to hear more. But coming back to Cynthia, so Cynthia, you had asked your original thing, like, I'm still thinking about this person. It's been over a year. And I kind of talked through the stages of recovery for this type of thing. And you're sharing now that it feels like you've gone through each of those steps to some degree, but some more than others. And that's also a really good point, because if we leave unfinished business behind us in any of those steps, it can contribute to that getting stuck. Because there's real work to be done, and sometimes it can be difficult to get visibility into like what you need to do in every single one of those steps. So I'm hearing that you've kind of like rotated through them. But the fact that you're still in the place that you described, that it's been a year out, and still thinking about them on an almost daily basis, if I were your therapist or if I were your breakup recovery coach, I would be doing a deeper assessment into each one of those different domains to see, okay, where does the work need to be for Cynthia right now? And actually, let me share another resource with you. I hope I have this. Set up. Okay, hold on. I'm going to go to one more thing. Oh, here it is. All right, here. I'm going to send you this link. This is, oh no, no, don't do that one. That's the wrong one. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm like so unprepared today with having the power go out right before this. Usually I have like all my stuff set up. Okay, I will just tell you. If you come to my website, come to growingself.com, go to the main navigation bar, and you'll see a tab there that says resources. And then from there, there is a quiz that I developed, and it is called How Over Your Ex Are You? You'll see it right up there at the top. How Over Your Ex Are You? And in this assessment, it's probably, I would say 25 to 30 questions that kind of assesses these different stages of heartbreak recovery, just to get visibility, like, okay, where is this person stuck? And you would have like different scores in each domain. So it delivers like a customized report with scores in each domain. But the first one that has a low score, that's the one that you need to work on. So Cynthia, I would recommend that you go to my website, grab that free How Over Your Breakup Are You quiz, take it, answer the questions, and then see your first low score, and that is the domain that you need to be digging into. And also in this free report that it's my recommendations about like, here are some things that you need to do in order to keep moving through this phase and like on to the next one. Because like anything else in life, if you try to do all of the everything all at once, it becomes overwhelming. You're not really working as effectively as you need to in each stage. And so I hope that that free resource gives you some clarity and direction that will help you feel like you're moving through it, because that can be really challenging too. Okay, let's take another question. And thank you so much for sending these questions in. I really appreciate this. Here's a question. Okay, let's talk about this. I'm wondering what I can do for the next 3 days after my breakup, because it's been a really hard time. So you're, I think, saying that your breakup just happened like 3 days ago? I don't know if you want to respond to that, but This is such a hard situation. And so, you know, the very first phase of this is very, very difficult. And so, I mean, of course, be practicing amazingly good self care. Take super good care of yourself. Be very compassionate for yourself. Do not criticize yourself for anything that you might be thinking or feeling. Do not force yourself into like high impact social situations. Like, be super gentle. But the thing that you need to know is the very, very first stage of a breakup is one that is characterized by a very intense withdrawal response. So that, you know, we as humans were built to bond in very powerful ways, and when these bonds are broken, you know, they exist not just on a mental and emotional but also on a physiological level. And so even if this relationship wasn't a good one, even if you're like, I don't think this is a sustainable situation for me, you are still going to feel this very intense withdrawal response that will feel like, and it's different for different people, but may include things like panic, terror, extreme sadness, feelings of devastation, right? Abandonment, especially if you have old abandonment stuff. It may feel like a lot of self-blame and self-loathing. You might feel anger, but you might also feel a lot of craving for contact, a compulsion to reconnect with your ex, a lot of intrusive thoughts about them, like obsessive-y feeling kinds of thoughts. And just know that this is a biologically based response to a broken attachment, and not necessarily any kind of reflection of the relationship itself. Just because you're feeling things, this is not the same thing as love. It is not something that you should necessarily allow yourself to be influenced by or take action on, because this is a biologically based survival drive screaming at you to reconnect, whether or not the relationship was good for you. And so just slow down. And my advice would be take no action at all. Feel the feelings, like allow yourself to have this moment, recognize the fact that you're having a super intense withdrawal response. Be gentle with yourself, and it's like anything else. You sort of need to let yourself calm down a little bit. And I would give that at least a couple of weeks would be my timeline. If after a couple of weeks it's still feeling as intense, it might be helpful to connect with somebody, a really competent, maybe therapist who has specialized training and experience in breakup recovery psychology, a breakup recovery coaching. But just know that most therapists who are trained in clinical mental health issues do not have any specific training and experience in dealing with ruptured attachment bonds or breakup recovery coaching. And so if you're coming in and like falling apart, you know, they may be like, oh, okay, what's the psychopathology here? Which might not be helpful for you in a moment where maybe you're already feeling kind of vulnerable and like, what's wrong with me because I'm feeling this way? So be careful about who you connect with for help. Certainly, if you would like to work with any of the clinicians in my organization, Growing Self, you're welcome to do that. You can schedule a free consultation through my website, again, growingself.com. But also just know, like, there's nothing wrong with you because you're having this experience. This is what it feels like for everybody, literally everybody going through this stage of a broken attachment, particularly if they did not want the attachment to end. So just know that. And then once that has kind of calmed down a little bit, then you can probably do some of the reflective work that needs to be done in the next stage, which is that of the relationship clarity piece. Most people need to go work through, like, is it really over? Could this still probably work, before they know once and for all that it is over, and then they can move into grieving and on through the next stages of healing. So I hope that insight is helpful for you and helps you. And I'm just sorry that you're going through this, because this is the worst. It really is. Oh, okay. So let's see. We have so many other questions. I want to make sure that we address these. And and want to make sure that I can keep up with people. Oh, and you know what? I need to be better about like scrolling down through the comments to see like follow-up comments, because I think that we have a little bit of a time delay in this conversation. And so I answer a question and then somebody responds, and then I don't realize that there has been more. So let's go back to Lindsay for just a second. Okay, so Lindsay, we were just talking about your situation a little bit ago, and you were sharing about how it had been 4.5 years and you were in a better place. Your ex was maybe in a little bit worse place, but then it felt like the tables turned a little bit. And so your follow-up comments were that your biggest fear was not knowing her better version. Oh, yeah. And vice versa. That is such a good point. How do I continue to focus on myself and give her the space to continue that growth? We have a monthly check-in and co-parent our dog. Awesome. And you said that previously you had taken that quiz and your first low score was in stage 2, relationship clarity and acceptance. We still love each other, but know something needed to change. And Lindsay, this is such a good point. Like, even just what you're sharing here. Let's just talk about this for a second. Not knowing her better version and vice versa. And so I think, just reading between the lines here a little bit, what you're saying is something that a lot of people experience. You know, when you're in a relationship cycle, when it is not going well, there's negative communication, there's hostility, there's resentment, there's insecurity, there's all the things. People do not behave well, first of all, just in response to that negative relationship system. And there can be a lot of stuff that gets built up around that, so the system is hard to change. But then in that too, all evolving humans, in relationships or otherwise, like, we're all going through a growth process. And it sounds like you were probably in a situation where you were not bringing out the best in each other, and that it really felt unsustainable. And it also felt like you couldn't do that growth work with each other because, and I've seen this so many times, it's like the relationship toxicity kind of like tears it all down again, which is not uncommon. And so it sounds like you decided to separate in order for this growth to occur, but like that you may be having this experience that a lot of people have of like seeing what potential is possible for the relationship and like what it could be and what she could be, you know what I mean? And like really feeling attached to that. And that it's like maybe it still could be that. And just the fact that you guys are doing monthly check-ins, I mean, that's really interesting. Like, it almost sounds like you're doing a therapeutic separation as opposed to a breakup kind of deal. And I don't know. I mean, I certainly don't want to give people false hope, and I don't know where your ex is with this because, you know, relationships are a choice. She may or may not be in the same place with us, but this doesn't really sound over to me. If you're interested, I recorded a podcast probably a couple of months ago and did a live stream on should you get back together with an ex, and really going through like that decision making process. Like, why did we break up in the first place? What was the problem? And what has changed since then in terms of our own growth work, our own understanding of ourselves and each other, our own capacity to handle this differently going forward, our commitment to handling it differently going forward. Because if you have some of those pieces in place and you've done some work, it could actually be really cool to give it another try, but you have to do that work. Otherwise, there's just a very strong likelihood that you'll get back together and wind up replicating the old patterns. So anyway, there's a lot here. Go back and listen to that podcast or see if you could track down that other live stream. And it makes perfect sense to me that you would be in that relationship clarity space where you can't really move forward because you almost don't know if this is over or not. And that there's work to be done here. So, anyway, check out that podcast. Maybe interesting to broach that conversation with your ex. I would strongly suggest that if you did consider giving it another whirl, make sure that you get the support of a really good couples counselor, meaning a licensed marriage and family therapist, not a garden variety therapist. They are not trained in the relational dynamics in the same way. And ideally, look for somebody who has a strong background in breakup recovery coaching and also like relationship coaching, because in the absence of psychopathology, you want somebody who understands the dynamics of this situation. So, a couple that is split, is thinking about coming back together again, but also someone who can help you really focus on what needs to be different in the way we're both thinking, feeling, and behaving towards each other so that we don't replicate the same outcomes. And that is not necessarily something that therapy will give you. So, I just wanted to say that out loud so that you know you can make informed choices about how to get the right kind of help if you decide to try this again with each other. But amazing question, and thank you very much for contributing this, because I think a lot of people get into that place, you know. All right, so many wonderful questions. All right, so let's talk to David from YouTube. David, thank you so much. And I think that you shared a couple of things here, so I want to make sure that I get it all. Okay. And hey, if you're just joining, today we're talking about how long does it really take to heal after heartbreak or to get past a breakup. And I'm taking your questions because, you know, these things are complex. They depend a lot on circumstances, on your own process. And so this conversation is designed to be, you know, not how long does it take to get over heartbreak in general, but specifically, how long is it going to take you to get over this, or you know, come to a resolution, perhaps in the case of Lindsay, who we were just talking to. Okay, so David shares, after breaking up with me and coming back for 4 years, she finally did something that made me get over her in about a week. That must have been pretty bad. This time I moved on and was dating someone else. And then 4 months later, she came back after she decided she no longer wanted to be an avoidant, I think is what you're saying. We both listened to you, great, and that you have helped so much. I'm happy for that. We're now happier now with ourselves as well as in individual happiness. That is so wonderful to hear, David. I really appreciate that. And I'm so glad to know that my work has been helpful for both of you in being able to sort through some of this. And it sounds like you probably both done quite a bit of work on yourselves. And I'm just honored that I was able to be part of that process. And if you have a question, it sounds like maybe that was more of a share, but if you have a question about you know, how to continue moving forward together, I'd love to know what's going on for you. So I'll be sure to be checking out for more of your comments. Okay. So, hey, let's do a quick thing right now. I want to come back to answer some questions that have been coming through this little anonymous form that I put together. And hey, if you would like to answer or have me answer a question, about your situation, but don't necessarily want to put your question in publicly viewable comments, I completely understand. Come to my website. It's growingself.com/dear-Lisa. There's like a little chat bot that we put together for you. You can ask your question anonymously, and then I will answer it for you without sharing your name. Okay, so there's another question. I was with my ex for 19 plus years. It's a long time. We met when I was 19 and he was 27. Originally, I was told he was single with no kids. Fast forward 6 months, and I found out he was married with 3 kids. At that point, I was hooked and in love. I believe they were separated and working on a divorce. I'm having a reaction to this. Okay, I'm all right. I believe they were separated, working on a divorce. Now, 19 years later, he still isn't divorced. And I just found out that him and his wife slept together last Sunday. When I found out by looking through his phone, I broke it off. I am so numb but miserable by my current circumstance. This is rejection at its finest. How do I move on? I'm so glad you're here today. And I'm so glad that you gave me an opportunity to speak to the situation. I don't know where to start. Okay, I have a lot of free resources for you. So, what I'm about to say here in this few minutes that we're together on a live stream, like this is not the alpha and the omega. This might be just a starting point. It sounds like you've been caught in a very toxic relationship for a really long time. It started when you were a teenager. You were still developing, and you, as you say so astutely, got hooked. You became attached to a person that was not good for you. And it felt like then at that point you were unable to break it off. And I am so sorry that you had that experience. Please go to my website, growingself.com, and I have a whole content collection around really navigating toxic relationships. Let me make sure, hold on. I'm going to look up the exact content collection for you, and I'm going to drop it in the comments. And I would like to have you commit to me. I'm putting on my coach hat right now. You commit to me that you're going to come in here and you're going to read articles and you're going to listen to podcasts. And hold on, let me find this. I want to make sure that I tell you the right thing. Okay. Come into the Relationship Clarity Collection. Let me see if I can send this URL out to you. Sorry, you guys, I'm kind of clumsy with some of this. Here we go. I'm going to send this out to you. Come to Relationship Clarity Collection, and you'll find a lot of articles and resources on toxic relationships, how to break free from toxic relationships, information on healthy versus unhealthy relationships and how to discern that. I also just want to acknowledge the fact that you did cut it off. It's understandable that you would be feeling numb right now, and what lies ahead is probably going to be a very complex journey. You probably feel numb right now, and this is going to be unfolding for a while because this was 20 years. This was the entirety of your adult life. There is a lot here that you've been through. Certainly betrayal by this person, but there's so much to unpack. I mean, in terms of grief, loss, lost opportunities, the life you might have had, trauma, regret, not protecting yourself. I mean, there's a lot here. So I sincerely hope that you are already connected with a really good therapist. And in this case, I actually would advise a therapist rather than somebody who practices coaching psychology. I mean, there's never harm with connecting with a therapist who does practice coaching psychology, because once you get through that healing and recovery place, there may be an opportunity to start working on growth and goals in a different way. But that is not what this is right now. So connect with a really good therapist, particularly a marriage and family therapist who has a strong background in attachment, in grief and loss, and relational dynamics, because they will help you unpack this. And again, you know, I don't know you. I don't know the situation. I have very little information to go on, but I would bet you a cookie that there were some significant abusive dynamics going on in here that would have contributed understandably to your getting stuck in the way that you did. And so there's a lot here to unravel, and the progress, just to manage your expectations, will probably be measured in years. So just be gentle with yourself. And thank you for tuning in today, honestly. And I'm just so sorry that you're going through this, but I hope that this becomes a new day for you and an opportunity to shift your life path. And actually, very lastly, before we move on, the other thing that I would say is that over 19 years in the situation that you described of his not leaving his ex, I would also bet that this is not the first time that you got really upset or that something happened that felt devastating to you and that made you like, this isn't going to work. And that you may have even broken this off with this person before and then reconnected. I don't know that that's true, but I would guess. So the work here in the short term is to not reconnect. Because if you do, it could be 29 years instead of 19 years, right back here in the same place. So it's not avoiding a relapse, for lack of a better word, is really the name of the game in the short term, so that your journey of growth and healing and recovery can truly begin. Because I don't think this is the first time you've been in this situation. I might be wrong. Okay. Thank you very much, though. All right, you guys. I think we are just about out of time, and I know that we did have a slow start to all of this because of my technical difficulties in the very beginning here. But let's just see if we had any other questions that I can answer for you. Oh my gosh, there are so many amazing comments and questions that are coming through. Let me see if there's one that I can answer fairly quickly. Okay, how about this one? All right. Oops. Okay, so let's pull up this question. All right. Sorry, you guys. Okay. This is such a cool question. I'm just going to answer this because I think a lot of people can relate to this, and I'm really glad that you brought up this question. This is a good one. How can I get over a situationship with a fearful avoidant? Sharing that you decided to walk away after he said that he cannot commit to a relationship, and I only realized that he was a fearful avoidant after. First of all, yay for you for recognizing his capacity to be in a relationship with you. That is really, really important. And that can be hard. Like, the person that we were just talking to who got hooked through the gills in a relationship with somebody who was never going to be the partner that they really needed and deserved. You're able to see this and be like, I see the situation and no thank you, as opposed to playing little games with yourself where you're like, well, maybe, if XYZ, then he would love me. Like, that's really, really good. But then you're asking too, how do I get over this? Meaning, I'm guessing, it was a situationship. So these tend to be fairly intense when it comes to different types of relationships. I'm guessing, I don't know this, but there was probably a fair amount of sexual chemistry, that it was sort of in that like crushy limerence phase, and that can be one of the reasons why these are harder to get over. Perhaps you're still thinking about this person a lot, they still have this magnetism, but your strength and your advantage is this intellectual part of you that knows very, very clearly, I cannot have a relationship with this particular human. It's not going to work. And so it's really, really good because you have these different parts of your brain, and that this is a situation where you need to listen to this thinking part that is like, don't do that. So the same part of you is like, don't have the fourth glass of wine. You're going to regret it. Do you know what I mean? That part that's like, no, you need to go to bed. You have to work tomorrow morning. Like, get a good night's sleep. Like, there's that voice in your head that helps you make good choices, like, do the right thing. That's the one you want to listen to. And also, don't be frustrated with the fact that there is this other thing that happens inside of you that is not coming from your conscious brain. This is coming from that attachment level that's like, intrusive thoughts, right? Maybe reminiscing about things that happened, maybe imagining having conversations with them. And every time you notice that, simply gently redirect yourself the way that you would a child, right? You're like, well, stay away from the power outlet or you're going to get an electric shock. I'm going to come over here and play with this instead. So just very gently, like wise mind, observe your thoughts, and every time it goes to that person, being like, that's poison, right? So just let's think about something else. And then over time, with that continued gentle redirection, you'll notice that it will start to fade. If you indulge fantasies and daydreams and think about that person a lot, it will not fade. That attachment will be maintained. And just be very, very careful about games that you might play with yourself, or that part of your mind that wants to reconnect might be telling you, that supports the argument for calling them, hooking up with them. You're bored, you're lonely, it's Tuesday, let's go get a beer, like that kind of thing, because that could sign you up for another round of this rodeo that will sink that hook in further, be a waste of your time and energy, and probably isn't going to end well the next time either. So you're on the right track, and I just wanted to say keep going. So, okay, you guys, I hope that this conversation was helpful for you, like no matter where you are in this healing journey. And I just want to say that I love this community. I love that you guys are so openly sharing your questions and your situations, giving me the opportunity to speak to them, but also to give everybody in our community the opportunity to learn and grow from your experience, like what you share about yourself. This isn't group therapy, obviously, but I think in some ways it has the power of a group, that we can learn and grow through each other when we're all being vulnerable and sharing our stories, allowing ourselves to be seen, allowing ourselves to be helped, putting ourselves out there, and we're all doing this together. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. I'll be back on Thursday with another event, and tune into Monday's podcast this Monday. Just to tell you before we end, I want to make sure that I tell you the right thing. We are going to be talking about, I can't even pull it up. I'm sorry, my whole computer is still all weird from our power outage earlier. We are going to be talking about, wait, here it comes. We are going to be talking about, I was so well prepared today. Ooh, I was so excited about this one. This is an interview that I actually recorded a few weeks ago with Dr. Marissa Frank, who is incredible. This is probably in the top 3 interviews I've done all year on the subject of navigating toxic friendships. She is so good. She offers a really powerful perspective on how our attachment styles show up in friendships and can contribute to us getting into friendships that can be like some of the relationships we've been talking about today. Aren't that good for us? Can drag us down instead of lift us up, but also has a lot to offer around healthy relationship skills as they apply to friendships. And it's just brilliant. So check out that podcast on Monday. And then next week, we'll be talking on live stream about any situations you guys might be dealing with related to not so awesome feeling friendships. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, again, I do apologize about the slow, weird start for today's live stream, and I'll be back next week. All right, take care.